ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning, ever-growing, always expanding fan show. It is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so Thanksgiving Eve, if such a thing exists, which it probably does. We've got something for every time of the year, every day of the year, and the Friday after Thanksgiving is Black Friday, which I don't celebrate. I don't do it. I've worked it. I will work it this year. It'll be 9 a.m., Sportsman's Warehouse in Spokane Valley, so if you're in the area, feel free to come by and say hi, but I just, I understand that everyone is different. I do. It's not something that I feel that I'm oblivious to or even naive about. I might be a little naive to it, let's be honest here. But, the people that spend the holiday camping out for the day after the holiday don't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I really don't. Because the holidays are meant to be spent with your family. It's time reserved. That's why you don't have to work. Oh, okay, details aside, I get it. Some people work Thanksgiving, but the reason why most businesses are closed and why it is a paid holiday is so that you can go and enjoy it with your family or friends, if you're not too fond of your family. That's understandable as well. And you just enjoy the meal, the festivities, whatever you do on holidays, do that. But if your tradition is camping out in front of a Best Buy to get the best deals on the newest technology and TV, I don't understand that. I don't know if that's something that I want to understand or if that's even something that can be understood, but it just seems like a very poor use of time that you're getting off. Time that you are able to go and pretty much we'll even pay you to be gone. And I know that doesn't apply to everybody. If we can sidestep the minor details about people that work at grocery stores or gas, it's okay, again, we're sidestepping the obvious. Okay, we're going for the majority here. But I did one Black Friday, hated it, absolutely hated it, and I know people that will full-on celebrate it like it's an extension of the holiday. They will go and they'll stop by Starbucks and they'll get their 20-ounce, triple shot caramel macchiato lattes. And they will go and they will hit the Pennies and the Kohl's and the Best Buys and just whatever, and the Targets and whatever else. And there's businesses open on Thanksgiving, and I don't condone that. I don't like it. I don't. Because it's the feeling of, I understand that not everybody celebrates certain holidays. To that degree, this is America, where these holidays are national, they are recognized, they are celebrated. And so for the majority of people that do, it's not fair to take that away from them just because your company wants to make an extra buck by pandering to the few that don't celebrate it. It doesn't sit well with me. But anyway, on a much brighter note, sorry to tone it down early on. I don't like working Black Fridays, but I will, and it'll be fine. You do what you got to do. But I do love Thanksgiving. I really do. I wish we had more traditions in my household. I know people that their family is so big when they get together on Thanksgiving. They go and they have a full-on, 11-11 contact football game. I'd love to be able to do that. I'm a big fan of Friendsgiving, but we don't have enough friends to do that because all of our friends usually spend it with their families. But we are going to do Thanksgiving solo this year, my wife and I, and I'm going to do my first ever attempt. That's right, 31 years later, the eve of being 32 next week. And I will attempt my first Thanksgiving dinner. So, wish me the best, thoughts and prayers. But enjoy your Thanksgiving, please. By all means, I hope that however you celebrate it well, even if that is camping out in front of a Best Buy. But to each their own. So, let's hop to it, right? It is time for today's headlines. Headlines, of course, brought to you by the good people at Dynamite Enterprises, specifically Ethan Harrison, who, in case you missed it, we did a special last week, our first ever music division special episode. It was the debut episode for that. It was a lot of fun. We had the folks from Elephant Gun Riot on, and then Ethan Harrison, because he was sponsoring the event that Elephant Gun Riot was playing at. So it was a nice little double dip there. Got to catch up with the folks at EGR. And they have a video up now that you can see on their Facebook page that they talked also about on the show when they were in the green room with me. And it's about their song, Sword from Stone. And it's a great sort of peek into the writing process if you're a musician or if you're not and you want to know a bit more about what goes into that. Great insight into just the way that things can unfold. So I strongly urge you to go and check out that, the debut special for the music division of the F.A.N show. Yesterday, of course, we had the debut of the wrestling division special with John Robinson. That was a lot of fun. Got another behind-the-scenes scoop, Creating the Mania. He's the author of that great read, so go and pick that up wherever books are sold. But yes, Ethan was featured on that episode as well, and it was a lot of fun to hear him talk about, one, being in a band and then working for a place that mass-produces merchandise and how that all works and where he sees his future going and how much he enjoys doing what he does with Dynamite, probably more so than with the band. So he wants to help you customize your world. So hit up Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com. And if you don't believe me, go and check out their site, dynamiteenterprises.com. And just let him know, hey, heard about you on the F.A.N show. Heard you on the F.A.N show, because he's now an alum. That's right. Just takes one time. He's an alum of the F.A.N show, and he does great work. And we talk all about the process behind, working with customers, getting things right, working with difficult customers. So go and check it out. It is a lot of fun, and make sure that you let him know that you heard about him and his business from me, and he might just cut you a deal. But 'tis the season for new merchandise, right? You need a custom-made gift for a loved one. Dynamite Enterprises can do that for you. So the headlines are that we had Survivor Series, which we talked a lot about yesterday. Raw won a 6-0 sweep, although SmackDown did win the tag team elimination match. But that was on the pre-show, and nobody counts that, which is, the irony. Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair were the big match of the night. A surprise match was the bout between Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan. 5-on-5 men's Survivor Series elimination match was, I thought, very well put together. And then, of course, we had Raw Monday night, SmackDown last night. So we are headed towards TLC, but really all eyes are focusing on the Royal Rumble. NXT TakeOver War Games was spectacular. If you're not a wrestling fan, these are the events that I would recommend you watch to get hooked. Any NXT TakeOver, because NXT is undefeated when it comes to their events, and this one was no exception. The Velveteen Dream and Tommaso Ciampa match was just incredible. NXT just does such amazing work. They really do. So that one was another 5-star instant classic. NXT doing great work. Congratulations, guys. Then we had the best game ever? ? Because I don't believe it was. And look, I know I'm traditional. I'm old school sometimes, despite the fact that I'm like right in that middle. I was born just before the millennials. But the 54-51 Monday Night Football game, Rams over the Chiefs. Everybody says it was like one of the game of the year for one, and then like greatest game ever, Super Bowl preview, and it's just like, man, that's an arena football score, man. That's where you say, we're gonna pull the goalie. That's no defensive effort whatsoever. But surprisingly, though, there were 3 touchdowns from the Rams defense. They had 2 fumble recoveries, strip sacks on Mahomes, returned for touchdowns, and I think even 1 interception was returned. But either way, 5 turnovers for Mahomes, 6 touchdowns. It's not a very good ratio, and people are still saying that he should be the MVP. Yeah, Drew Brees throws 6 touchdowns in a game, too, without the turnovers. Big Ben can even do that also, but, it's whatever. It's the flavor that NFL is feeding you right now. It's the flavor of the week. But the Rams, despite their defense, I don't know what to make of this, because their defense scored points, 21 points, if if my math is correct on that, as far as, the all three of those turnovers resulting in points. But I mean, really, you can't allow a team to score 51 and expect to, one, go deep into the playoffs, two, win a Super Bowl, because these might have been the two best offenses with one of the better defenses. But, history tells us that when you get to that matchup of best offense versus best defense, that best defense wins 9 times out of 10. Could the Rams be the 1 out of the 10? Absolutely they could. And I believe that it's a very real possibility, especially with a defense that's, not last, but up there with, I think they're the top 3 defense. So the Rams are definitely poised to go deep into the playoffs and a Super Bowl favorite, obviously. Them allowing the Chiefs to put up 51 on them, though, I don't know. To me, it was entertaining football, but it's not me on the edge of my seat football. That Super Bowl between the Cardinals and the Steelers, man, that was edge of my seat football. That was great. That had a lot of momentum shifts. And some people will say that, 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone is momentum shifts. It's not. It's a shootout. Okay, it's tit for tat. It's who has the ball last is more likely to win. But I do like to see comebacks. I like to see a tale of two halves. Even the Super Bowl Patriots and the Falcons. That one, some argue, was one of the best Super Bowls just because of the comeback and the momentum swing and the tale of two halves. So I'm not sold on this being one of the greatest games of all time. I think it'll probably win Game of the Year just because that's the world we live in now, where we, say, defense is great and all, but have you ever put up 54 points in a game or allowed 51? Really? Trubisky, though, injury report, will not start, and so they have their backup coming in, and he's played for Nagy before, I guess, was what I was hearing on ESPN, and so we will see that. Kurt Warner will be a lead analyst for the Alliance of American Football. That's very exciting. I'm a huge Kurt Warner fan, so that's awesome. It's spectacular. There's a lot coming out for the AAF because their season starts right after the NFL season concludes, after the Super Bowl. So Chase Daniel, that's the name. Okay. Back to the Trubisky injury. Chase Daniel slated to start at QB versus the Lions in place of the injured Mitchell Trubisky, and that will be one of your Thanksgiving Day matchups. And a lot of people are talking about Andrew Luck for MVP. His offensive line should be the MVP candidate because they haven't allowed a sack, I think, in the last 5 games. So if there was ever a group effort, I feel like it should be his. Other than that, though, really not too much in regards to breaking news. That Trubisky thing really sucks. Breeze had himself a day. This man continues to defy age amongst all other things. If he's not the MVP this year, it'll be a great injustice. And I'm normally very anti-quarterback for MVP, but this is one that I will give you my absolute 100% loyalty vote on this one, just because he's Drew Brees and he's doing stuff he's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. And I'm a Niners fan where we defend Joe Montana till we're blue in the face as far as who the GOAT is. So we have Thursday, Bears-Lions is up first, then Redskins-Cowboys, and Alex Smith is done for the year. And that's very sad. It was the Joe Theismann injury. It was like the same quarter, the same yard line, the same leg. The score of the game ended the same. It was a creepy as hell moment after the fact, but it was gruesome to watch because his leg was flopping in a way that it does not naturally. So prayers for Alex Smith. That man, to me, he's such a trooper. To go through as many offensive coordinators and head coaches as he did when he was picked number 1 overall by San Francisco at the same draft class as Aaron Rodgers, and there was all of that. Once he finally got consistency with Harbaugh, he took him to an NFC Championship game, and then he was well on the way to leading them back to another and then a Super Bowl, but then, of course, Harbaugh decided to go with the hot hand that turned out to be Kaepernick. And then Smith would go to the Chiefs, and he would lead them to the playoffs. And now he was with the Redskins, and looking like he was going to lead them to the playoffs. Like, the dude just rolls with the punches and doesn't say a damn thing. He is the epitome of class when it comes to a professional sport. And so my prayers are with him. I hope a speedy recovery. But, yes, he did fracture his tibula fibula, and that just looked nasty. And then your final one for your Thanksgiving Day festivities will be the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. Saints are at home in the Dome. No reason to think that they'll lose this, but this is the kind of game that the Falcons could win, because it's always, for a team like the Falcons, the games that they're not supposed to win, they do. So that'll be interesting to see. I'll probably do my speed picks a little later. We do have Connor Ferguson coming up, because in other news, the IFL schedule was released. Shout out to Patrick Ryan, my man from down on South Beach. He has signed with the Cedar Rapids River Kings. And so, yeah, we're going to go to commercial break. And when we come back, Connor Ferguson and I are going to talk about the upcoming Indoor Football League season, as well as the schedule, because they have rounded it out. There are 10 teams officially, and I believe that was the magic number that I was settling on. I said 8 to 10. And San Diego, the Strike Force, will be that 10th and final team. So IFL goes to Tucson and San Diego this year, while Cedar Rapids gets a new look. So don't go anywhere. We've got more of the Fan Show coming up right after this. You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's The Fan Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It's like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo.
Like, Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and joining me, been a while, but of course 'tis the season, because we do have some IFL news that broke earlier this week, and we're going to talk all about it. He is a member of Last Word on Sports for the Indoor Football League, and that is Connor Ferguson. Connor, welcome back. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm enjoying my break for Thanksgiving here. Been catching up on a lot of college basketball this week, and of course the schedule came out on Monday, so it's been a fun week.
Yeah, the schedule came out, the announcement of an expansion team, another one, which, man, I thought for sure that they were set at 9, but that is no longer the case. They found a 10th, and I believe there was some issues there, which is why the owner is who it is, also the owner of Cedar Rapids, who are now the River Kings. So to go down the line here, we have the Sioux Falls Storm, the Arizona Rattlers, the Nebraska Danger, the Bismarck Bucks, the Tucson Sugar Skulls, the San Diego Strike Force, Iowa Barnstormers, Quad City Steamwheelers, and the Green Bay Blizzard. So I believe if they were to do an East and West, it would shake out something like that, which, even with 10, I'd prefer that they didn't, because I don't want to see Nebraska Danger fall ass backwards into the playoffs again. But, they're going to structure it however, but I do believe that we have finally a true East and West for the IFL.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for any league you have, to have a couple, if you're going to have divisions at all, you want to have those teams be in regions that make sense and that are close to each other, especially if you're going to have them play extra through the year. That was my first, I wouldn't say gripe with this, because I understand the challenges in the league, but what the schedule comes out with is, San Diego are playing 3 times. I was playing Cedar Rapids 3 times. Iowa isn't playing Arizona this year. I hated that. I thought Iowa and Arizona, they played 3 times, promoted that, these two teams have faced each other so many times through the AFL. Now they're in the IFL together and they're facing each other again, big rivalry game, whatever. If you're going to promote that so much last season and not put it on the schedule, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not in charge of scheduling, and I understand that there is a process to it, especially when it comes to the financial aspect of it. But I think, if you're trying to have these rivalries, which there have been some great rivalries over the last couple of years, you got to do what you can to ensure that you keep those, even if they only play each other once. But it does come down to who can afford what, and I'm sure that there's some teams that are footing the bill for other teams until they get up and running. But I think the most important thing about this season is that, from what I understand, there is a solid ownership group in place now. So obviously Cedar Rapids under new ownership and new management. Now, I don't agree with the management choice, but that's just me. They are also going to be the owner for the San Diego team. So clearly it sounds like they're one of those teams that, to use the NAL as an example, Rob Storm owned multiple teams last year and they did just fine. If you can do it, do it. Tucson, obviously, going to be owned by the coach of the Rattlers, which wondering how that's going to work. Nebraska's always been around. Iowa, solid ownership and management group. Quad City, I've heard great things about. Storm, again, same story. The Blizzard, they've always been around, again, with great ownership and management. The one big question mark for me, though, is Bismarck, because they weren't on my radar at all. In fact, it was Omaha that I thought was going to be that team that made the jump from CIF to IFL with Quad City, but that did not happen because of what? New ownership. What do you know about Bismarck, and your thoughts on how well their season will play out in the IFL?
I was right with you on that, thinking Omaha was going to be the team from the CIF to come to the IFL with Quad Cities. I do want to say about the IFL that it was extremely impressive that they could keep all 6 teams. It reminded me of the original 6 in the NHL. That they're just all solid franchises, and I mean, we've both been covering this for a few years. When was the last time we saw a league keep every team from the year before?
Yeah, no, that was definitely, that was breaking news.
Yeah, that was huge for them. But as for Bismarck, there's not much on their website. I'm doing that magazine right now and producing that and trying to figure out, who are they signing, who are they going after. I know Rod Miller is the coach. He's got 20 years of indoor football experience. So, they got some good guys in the office over there. It's just, I think it's too early to tell how well they're going to do or how much noise they're going to make, because they just haven't made much noise yet.
Yeah, and I think the important thing about all of this is that not only does the IFL have teams with great ownership in place, which is what really is the difference maker between attendance and no attendance. But, Quad City was that team that resurfaced last year in the CIF, and they had phenomenal attendance. And, of course, the United Bowl, Iowa at the Well was, I believe, sold out, was the final number, damn near close to it. And so that was just a great look for the league last year. To have a third champion in 3 years that was different was another great look. And of course, some fans would argue that Sioux Falls losing again was a big boost. But I think that when you look at the landscape now, you're going to see an attendance boost because it's no longer, 6 teams and you have a solid foundation as far as the, I guess what you would call original 6 if you wanted to mark maybe last year as the start of something new. But the expansion westward, I think everything just has the makings to get fans really excited, and I could see much better attendance this year than we have the last couple.
And you know what, Richard? The one thing I really loved about the schedule is there are no Monday games, there are no Tuesday games, nothing on Wednesday, Thursday. Everything is Friday through Sunday. And
yes.
I'm not a big Sunday game guy. I understand why they're there. I understand they need to be there. Sunday afternoon crowds are some of the most snoozing ever. Like, I'd rather have them play Monday night with maybe a lower crowd than what they get on Sunday, but at least a more energetic one.
Yeah,
I did like that they're keeping it all on weekends, which is great for consistency.
Yeah, it'll help for fans that want to travel because obviously, geographically, this is a great makeup for a lot of the fan bases that do travel in herds. Iowa, of course, they go to Nebraska, they go to Green Bay, they go as far as Sioux Falls, and now they'll have Quad City that they can go to, and of course Cedar Rapids being just a hop, skip, and a jump away. But I think even Bismarck is a reasonable trek for fans as well. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams all within a reasonable distance for different teams to travel to. Now, obviously, I speak for Iowa because I know that it's the most centrally located team in the entire league. It's easy for them to get to wherever. It's not so easy for maybe the Storm to get to Quad City or Nebraska to get to Green Bay. Whatever the case is, I do think, though, that with the more teams in the area that your team is going to potentially face, the more motive you have, especially with all the games being on a weekend. So well done by the scheduling team there. Side note, I wanted to get your thoughts.
And as this...
Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I was going to say, as expansion, and you have these 7 teams that are kind of centered around the Midwest, centered around Iowa. At some point, if you expand, if you find the right markets over there and you find 4 more teams that can build their base, you have 7 solid franchises on each side. That's a great league on the western half of the United States.
Yeah, it's very true. There was a lot of talk about Salt Lake, and that didn't happen. But what was funny is that I hadn't heard a damn thing about Salt Lake. I heard more rumor about San Diego than I did Salt Lake. And the Salt Lake thing, or the San Diego thing, was that all I had heard since covering arena and indoor football was that California was out of the question because of their labor laws, their player insurance or their unions, whatever. Like, California's a tough nut to crack. So I'm glad that they have at least opened that door. But one side note that I did want to get your thoughts on was, of course, the big question mark when all the off-season stuff started was that we knew, first off, that Tucson was getting a team. That was the first domino to fall, and everybody was saying that they were going to go CIF for a couple of reasons. First, because it was a cheaper league, and if you're going to just start out, you want to save as much money as possible. Of course, travel was a big issue. It didn't matter which league they were going to be in. They were going to have to travel, but if you've got Kevin Guy money, then it's not going to be a problem. And then the other issue was that people believed it would be a conflict of interest by having the coach of a team also own another team. And I understand that they're clearly maybe laying down some rules or some regulations to ensure that that isn't a case. But, ever since they debuted the name of the team and the logo and had that whole party, Kevin Guy has been doing like nonstop press. And I think if you want to distance yourself from this idea that there's going to be a conflict of interest, it's like, okay, you say the team, the name, the logo, that you're the owner, and then you just let your front office handle it from there. Like, I don't understand this move at all when it comes to this team and its marketing.
Yeah, if that's what they really want to do, he's of doing it. But if he wants to, get up there and say, like, you can trust me, I'm not going to have a conflict of interest here. I'm not going to try to shuffle the teams this way and that. If he wants to go with the Honest Abe strategy, that's a good strategy, I would say. But if you're right in his endeavors to try and keep that, under wraps and stuff, and try to stay as far away from it as he can, terrible strategy. But I don't hate what he's doing right now, if that's a good answer, I suppose.
No, and I don't hate it either, because he is the owner, and this is his baby. This is his first go at owning a team, so naturally he wants to be kind of the face. It just seems that, there's some conflict there. There's some issue. There's some rumblings, and, whatever his approach may be, that's fine. And I'm sure that we'll get through this season just fine, but I just know that there's going to come a day where there is what looks like some sort of issue, and the conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day with it. When Tucson plays Arizona, or when there's a playoff spot open and they've got a tie record, and one of them gets in over the. I mean, it's got you. Mm-hmm. You want to try to put out the fires, or prevent fires from even being there before they get out of control. So this season, I get it. Once kickoff happens, though, I would like to see his full undivided attention into the team that he actually coaches. Some people said that he should just let his assistant coach take over the head coaching job at Arizona, and he should just be full on, all in on Tucson, but that's not going to be the case, at least this year. Another reason why I heard CIF was because he's only got, I think, one more year left on his contract, and so then after that first year, he would be out. He could bring Tucson to the IFL. So there was just a lot of things that were supposed to happen that didn't, and I just am curious to see how they're going to play out this season. Cedar Rapids, your take, obviously, since you're in the area, we know a lot of the Cedar Rapids fans, how the rebranding has gone. They just signed quarterback Patrick Ryan, who I know really well. He's a great guy, incredible athlete, played for the Steelhawks last year in the NAL, and is obviously well-versed in arena ball, but just everything from your perspective going on with the new Cedar Rapids River Kings.
Well, I've talked to Ryan Eicher a lot over the offseason. He's been fantastic, and just fantastic to the media and everything he's done since getting to Cedar Rapids. The new rebrand looks great. One of the first players they re-signed was Markel Wade. I thought that was a big move. He's the best player I saw on Cedar Rapids last year, and it was not close. One of the best receivers in the league, to be quite honest with you. I'm really excited to watch him. And the new uniforms I heard for Cedar Rapids are going to look pretty sweet. So as far as like their rebrand goes, that was the most complete like color palette and logo palette I've seen from any indoor football franchise ever. So they clearly have the big bucks, and I wouldn't say have the big bucks, but are putting their money where their mouth is in terms of what they could do up to this point so far, and they're doing a really nice job at it.
Yeah, one thing that I will say is that, I don't like rebrands, but I understand sometimes they're necessary. I do think that the color scheme they've got going on and the logo looks really good. I don't know what the story, or I guess history, is behind River Kings and why it looks like, I'm assuming it's like a muskrat thing, but I don't know. Maybe you've got more insight on the history there behind the name of the River Kings.
I'd have to go back and look at the palette, but it's something with they wanted to do. I know they were looking at doing something with stuff in the area. There's a lot of rivers up kind of in that part of Iowa, so that was part of it. I know that for sure. But I like the Lion logo. I like the colors and everything, and I think it's going to be a cool set of uniforms coming up.
Yeah, I am excited to see those. Quad City, I think, has a great color scheme, and their helmets are some of my favorites. And then, of course, Tucson, we'll see what happens with their uniform reveal. Sugar Skulls, very interesting name. I thought maybe Desperados would be the thing that they'd go with, but Joe Stacy's going to have a fun time calling those games. But I think everything else looks pretty good here for a now 10-team league, which I believe was the magic number that we had discussed. We said that there's 6. There's going to be the two that jump and 2 expansion, and we both said, yeah, that sounds about right. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this will be one of the best seasons for the IFL. I feel like we say that every year, but to come back from going from 10 down to 6 and to hold on to those 6, to not have anyone have to fold up shop like we saw seemingly every year prior to that one, and then to add in not only 2 expansion but to get 2 other ones, I think speaks volume for and it could be all Barnstormers, because I believe this is one of the more competitive leagues of indoor football. But now, this announcement of San Diego, you have Arizona, Tucson, San Diego. You have destination teams to entice players, and you have homes for them. Part of the chaos last year was, of course, the Bloomington Edge and the West Michigan Ironman fiasco, where players had a home and then it was gone. But now they have homes for certain, and they are very popular destinations. So I think that's also a good look for the IFL. And I don't know if that was planned, but it definitely worked out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to see, these warm weather climates and have players go where they want to and just have, good living experiences and appreciate the city they're in. I can't tell you how just like heart-wrenching it's got to be for some fans, like, to just see a player like go away and 2 weeks later say like, oh, he didn't really like living here, that's why he's not returning. That sucks. That's always a bad situation. So
yeah, it's not something that's pretty, and you get a lot of that in the Midwest. I mean, I know that Nebraska's a great franchise, but there's not a whole lot to do out there, and that's it is what it is. They're a competitive team though, so if you want to compete instead of party, and that might be a team that you consider if you don't have any other options. But we are 10 teams, IFL, San Diego, and Tucson are the expansion. Quad City and Bismarck are the new faces. And then, of course, the one with the facelift, Cedar Rapids, the new River Kings. I think the schedule is going to be fantastic. Right now, I'm eyeballing March 9th, the home opener for the Barnstormers, which will be their banner drop night. Should be a good party there. But you have a magazine coming out for the Indoor Football League. How has that been coming along?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned March 9th. I'm sadly, I know you want to take the tour there that weekend for the banner drop and everything. If they have it that weekend, I'm going to be out playing hockey in Colorado. We just got our dates switched.
Oh wow!
So originally I was just going to miss week 1, and now I'm just going to miss week 3 altogether. So I'm heartbroken that I'm not going to be there for the home opener this season, but I'm sure you'll capture it greatly, and I can't wait to see your coverage on it for sure. About the magazine, we were producing a preview magazine for the Indoor Football League this season. It's going to be 30-plus pages. It's in the works, about halfway done right now. We're going to try to send it off coming up here soon. We have a publisher. We just waiting on some things to clear from the league, waiting on some transactions to go through so we can have a better idea of who's on the teams, how good they are. It's going to have schedules in it that you can fill in yourself, some coaching profiles, some other content that we haven't put out on the site at all or anything, and team previews, two-page previews of every team in the IFL, and everything that a college football preview magazine would have coming from Athlon Sports, Phil Steele, all those guys. So hopefully it's going to be something really cool for the league, and we're looking for sponsors and advertisements. Anyone wants to throw in, just contact me, give me a shout on Facebook, message me, or email me at connorferg9@yahoo.com, and we'll get some things taken care of if you're interested in that avenue of it.
Well, it sounds like a great idea. I'm excited to see the final product. Of course, I know it's no easy feat to get the information that one would need for something like that. So props on, taking the first step, which is initiative, and making that all come together. But he is Connor Ferguson of Last Word on Sports and Iowa Barnstormers coverage throughout the season for the Indoor Football League, which, if you want to see the schedule, if you want to get excited about it, goifl.com is your destination. You can view all the teams, all 10 of them in the league now, and then, of course, the schedule. So, Connor, I want to thank you again for taking the time. Have a happy Thanksgiving, all right?
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And, let's get excited for some indoor football coming up. We've got like 2.5 months coming up. So
coming up quick, for sure. All right, you take care.
Hey, you too. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Why'd you leave the group with Jimmy, Ron, and them?
Oh, it was just some stuff. Basically, just needed to kind of clear my head a little bit. There was a lot of noise going on, and it seemed like the notifications kept going on, and there was some bickering, which I'm all for. The occasional trash talk, but sometimes it just got out of hand. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. So, Connor, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're totally fine, man. Thanks a ton. I appreciate it. We were just worried about you. So.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Cool. Have a good one, man.
You too. All right, that was Connor Ferguson of the Last Word on Sports. And, sometimes you just need to hit a little reset. You just need to kind of cancel out some noise. And, yeah, that was pretty much it. We've all been in group chats, right? Where for the Fantasy League, for the Fan Nation Fantasy Football League, Aaron Coscarelli was in there with us, along with Chris Cope and a few others. Well, all others. Everybody that had Twitter was in there. And then, lo and behold, she was the first one to ditch out. And I was just like, I'm sorry. And she's just like, no, I was just getting a bunch of notifications, didn't have time to read them. And so I just opted to step out. Plus, my fantasy team is doing horrible. So, I get it. Sometimes there's like other options, but in the heat of the moment, you don't do it. Like, you can mute notifications or you can do whatever, but sometimes, if you get caught on the wrong day, you just got to be like, I'm out. So that was really all that was, because I still love Jimmy, Jeremy, Antonio, Ron, and all those guys, but there was a few moments where they were just going back and forth, just trash talking each other, and my phone kept going off, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I just out. But, it's all fun and games. So now for the speed round of NFL Pick'em that we do here each week on the Fan Show. So let's go ahead and get rolling with that. All right, tomorrow, Thanksgiving, Bears at Lions. Ooh, Lions, man. Without Trubisky, I know this defense is tough, but it's Thanksgiving, it's at home for the Lions, and this is usually a game that they win. So I like the Lions at home on Thanksgiving. Redskins, Cowboys. Oh, man, the Redskins really need it, but just, how far can they go with a backup QB as well? Do I want to pick the Cowboys? No, not really, but yeah, give me the freaking Cowboys. If they lose, it's Jason Garrett's fault. Just throwing that out there. And finally, Falcons Saints, give me the Saints. Then Sunday, the 25th, your regularly scheduled football programming is Raiders Ravens, give me the Ravens. Jaguars Bills, give me the Bills. Yeah. Give me the Bills. Seahawks Panthers, I like Panthers. Browns Bengals. Patriots Jets, give me the Patriots. Giants, Eagles. Eagles really need this one. So, but the Giants have won 2 straight. First time since 2016. Give me the Eagles still. 49ers, Bucks. Going to go with my Niners, even on the road. Cardinals, Chargers. I like the Chargers. Dolphins, Colts. Give me the Colts. Steelers, Broncos. Let's go Steelers. Packers, Vikings. This one, man, this is gonna determine some stuff. I like the Packers, especially after that tough road loss against Seattle. But this is another road game. But the Vikings, man, they just haven't proven enough to me this season. So give me the Packers. And then Monday Night Football, Titans-Texans. I like the Texans. The Titans needed to win that last game against the Colts, especially after upsetting the Patriots. I mean, come on. So that is going to do it for this edition of the Fan Show. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you, Connor, for joining me on the show. But, yeah, please be safe, be responsible, enjoy time with family, friends, and whoever. And we will talk to you folks next week for the last new episode of 2018 before we do 4 Best of Fan Show episodes. So make sure that you are liked, following, and subscribed to the Fan Show in all the ways that you can be. Subscribe iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and, of course, Spreaker. Follow along Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. Twitter and Facebook are at Fan Show Official, and Instagram and Snapchat is simply The Fan Show. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.